Hey everybody, I'm here today with my new friend Marla Mervis-Hartmann. We are girlfriends from Pittsburgh in California, and she is such an amazing holistic person with a great program in yoga and loving your body. And I'm just so excited to have a conversation with her, a wisdom talk today. And we're here to really have a conversation about physical intuition and how we can unite our bodies and our spirits through our intuition. So I just want to say hi, Marla, and can you just tell us about what you're doing and how you had this amazing journey to get here with all the cool stuff you're doing?
Yes, well, it's now finally cool because I figured it out. But my journey to where I've been was not a whole lot of fun. Just really struggling with liking my body, loving my body, taking care of my body. So a lot of dysfunctional eating, a lot of dysfunctional negative self-talk. And after years and years of struggling with that, I went on a whole recovery and learned a lot of tools.
Hmm.
Reiki, which really tapped me into my intuition, to Tantra, which also tapped me into my bodily pleasure intuition, right? And then all of the other tools that have come along with that. I finally have turned that around to be in a place where I can say right now, honestly, I love my body and I have freedom in my relationship with my body and in my relationship with food. So that's pretty huge from someone who always thought that I would never ever be free from the entanglement of that. Yeah. So
That is, I mean, that's exactly, what I was hoping to talk with you about today, because this whole body, mind, spirit connection, I think people a lot of times, don't realize how much, energetically we connect with our bodies and how that relationship is really important to us on a spiritual level, not just a physical level. And it's not just vanity. It's not just liking the way we look. It's really manifesting and self-actualizing our true self for our bodies. So we feel that we're on the inside the same as we are on the outside.
yeah, so we're actually friends with our body.
Yes.
Right. So there's actually a conversation and not just a one way. So before we dive into all of this, I would really love to just kind of turn the tables and say, what has been your passion with really sharing intuition with people? Like, how did you get on your path to be like, oh my gosh, this has to be shared with more people?
That is, I mean, my story is a lot like yours in that, really, it's really interesting that, as women, we sit and we have this conversation about how we got to a certain place of success and how we started to live our truths, right? Because it always starts with a challenge. And like your story, I had my own set of challenges, intuition wise. And really, by learning to conquer them within myself and learn and understand how to own that power within myself, it really gave me the momentum to want to share this with other people, because I knew that other people were struggling with these issues, and I knew that what helped me could help other people. And I'm sure that's very similar to your journey and wanting to share this and help other people. So it's really been a 20-year process for me, really, to confront these things. And finally, I've been working on my second book for like 10 years, and I'm almost done with it, because I've really created this very tactical way of understanding your intuition, right? So it's not just like traditional, like, oh, do a card reading. It's really a practical and cognitive understanding of how we harness intuition and use it in our lives every day. And specifically in work that you're doing, on the physical side, the physical intuition is how we connect with our bodies. There's a huge part of our intuitive process of directly connected to our bodies. We perceive with our bodies, we manifest with our bodies, all of these based on whether or not we're allowing our intuition to flow and we're in alignment with our intuition instead of being in a state of blockage, right? Because those blockages you feel when you start to work in practices like Reiki, and when you start to notice that your body feels different than you want it to feel, and you don't know how that came about. Well, a lot of that comes because we're not honoring our intuition to begin with.
Yes, we're not honoring it because we're usually afraid of it.
Yes.
There's that fear of it, and it's like, if how am I to align with my intuition if I don't in my body, if I don't even like my body?
Exactly.
So if I don't like my body, then why would I listen to it? Because look what it's doing to me. It's making me feel uncomfortable, right? How can I find intuition and connection with my body if my body feels like it's craving things that I don't want, right? So there's that, like, I'm not listening to you. You're hungry right now. I don't care, right? I don't care. We're not eating, right? And then so instead of us going into the cues of, oh, my body's hungry right now, and listening, oh, my body doesn't want food right now. Oh, it actually wants a little bit more food than I normally have. Oh, I'm going to listen to that. Oh, maybe I don't need as much right now. Rather than, I'm not going to listen to you. And then my body's just going to fully take over and say, if you're not going to listen to me, then I'm going to make sure I get what I want and completely overeat, binge, or do whatever it does, and then put the body in a state of overwhelm. So there's that fighting.
It's that constant tension that never seems to end between, it's all, between our ego and our spirit, right? And it manifests on a physical level too, with our things like our eating habits and our health habits, because there's this part of us that, we'll have a craving. Like, you might be craving oranges, like that's like a thing you crave because your body needs vitamin C, right? Like, I crave oranges all the time in the wintertime. Yeah. But we could also crave like Big Macs. So it's our job with our intuition is to understand what is a real intuitive craving of, like, our body and our spirit knowing that we need something health-wise, versus an ego craving, which is like, I just really want to eat some really bad food because it's so good.
Yeah, and I think so. I think what is really important within this journey of food choices, what we're talking about right now, is that instead of being like, oh, this is bad intuition, this is good intuition, that we look at it all like, wow, I'm just opening myself up to this. Intuitively, I thought maybe that was a really good idea, but now I'm realizing the Big Mac was not what was really happening. Maybe it was part of me that was in fear.
Yes.
So it's like, even to slow it down even further and say, oh, actually, my intuition is not telling me that. It's telling me I'm a little sad.
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it. When it's rooted in our fears and our emotions, and all of that's tied up in our ego, right? All that's tied up in our core little sad, dysfunctional ego self, right? So when it's coming out of there, then we're doing these destructive things, right? And if we want to get spiritually aligned and we want to spiritually evolve, we have to find this way to recognize the difference between these fear-based places and these emotion-based places, and between the high, like, self-actualizing places, right? So that is such a good point.
Yeah, and I feel like what actually needs to happen in that is to just start having a conversation with our bodies. And maybe not in those times where we're in a place of stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like when I've been teaching Reiki, in my Reiki classes, there's a very specific mudra that I teach in order for them to connect to their intuition. And what I share is, don't just use this on big moments in your life. Start to use it when you're like, oh, do I go to the party? Do I not go to the party? Like when it's like really like you're even. There's no charge in it. It's like, oh, do I eat cereal? Do I eat toast? Like, you're just tapping in that moment, and you're building the muscle around intuition with your body, with your food. You're building, it's even like with my clothing. Sometimes I'm like, okay, can you just, I don't want to spend any time on what I'm wearing. Can I just like intuitively know what I'm to put on and it's going to be fine for me? And that seems like kind of silly, but it's actually really helpful. It saved me a lot of time.
It's always easier. Sorry. It's always easier to think with your intuition. Always. Like, it's like, I tell people, like, I just stop making decisions with my mind, because with this little mind, it's always like, oh, should I do this and that? Always trying to figure things out. And with intuition, you just get it like that, in that place you're talking about it. You get into that that still, quiet, calm place. And that's when it just pops in, and it's so much easier. It's so much easier.
Yeah. How have you found your relationship with your body in intuition? Like, how do you listen to your body when it comes to how you want to move, maybe, or how you, even how you're talking to yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I have really had to work on that, because I'm a really strong manifester. So if I'm out of alignment or blocked, like, I get it shows up in physical symptoms. So I'll have like neck problems or back problems. So it's really important for me to keep my energy field clean and aligned, or I feel it like almost immediately. So yeah, having that daily routine is important for me. Qigong is really helpful. Yoga. Qigong's really gentle. So, even if you have, you can't move or you have any kind of like physical problems, it's really good for that. And then mixing that with your meditation, and when you talk about talking with yourself, I love that idea, because, oftentimes I'll be in a meditation and I'll have this sort of conversation with myself about, what I need to do to manifest physical health, and to actualize the person that I feel that I am inside on a physical level. So it does really take some conscious intention, meditating on it, and really listening to that first instinct. Impressions all about like your first intuition is all about your first impressions. So really just sticking with your first instinct and not overthinking things. If there's something today, like if I'm feeling like there's something I want to eat today that's healthy, but I'm going to just go with that and not overthink it, right? Like that, the thinking just gets in the way a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think the thinking, and even, you'll see people like, well, I'm going to ask my mom about that, or I'm going to ask my sister, or I'm going to like talk to everyone. It's just so that you don't have to deal with connecting with yourself and knowing what the truth is. Right. So it's just a delay mechanism, and it's still what we just said. It's just fear. Right. So I love that you're saying that. It's just like, there it is. There it is right there.
We got to break our conditioning. That's what it is. We're so conditioned by the people around us. We're conditioned by what the TV tells us and all this stuff. And that's really the core of intuition that flows right down into the work that you do, is that we have to live our truth. We have to honor ourselves, our inner guidance. And that's the true north, not what everybody else says, not what like the models are saying in the magazines. We all have a different sense of what's beautiful for us, right? All our bodies are different and unique and beautiful in different ways. So as long as we're aligned with our vision and what is beautiful to us, then we're good. That's what matters.
Yes. And it's getting to that point where we're actually okay with that, which takes a lot of time. And, being someone who's struggled with it for a really long time, if I can remember voices saying to me, just let go, just trust.
Mm-hmm. Trust.
I got ya. And I would not give up control, and I would not trust. And so I went on, I don't know how many more years of trying to figure out how to love myself, all through counterintuitive ways, through exercise, through, dieting, rather than my intuition, my God speaking and saying, you're actually okay. And when I finally listened to that voice, I have to say, I I actually got the body that I wanted, that I struggled for so long. I'm not saying that that happens to everyone, but my feedback on that was just like, oh, see, you can have this without all the struggle if you listen to me.
Absolutely. That is so perfect. And what do you do like on a daily basis to keep listening to that and to keep that going now that that's happened?
Since that's happened, I'm really learning more and more about myself and unwinding all these old conditions. So I know intuitively, if I start thinking about what I look like, and if I start thinking about my food a little too much, if those thoughts come in, I immediately and intuitively know, oh, there's something else going on. That's just
Mhm.
the screen. So intuitively, I'm like, okay, let's just slow down here. You're having a thought about your butt being too big. What are we really worried about? What are we really in fear about? And it could be something so small, but it's just like my conditioning, like you said, has just been conditioned to go into the fear place. And that fear, we'll keep coming back to it, that fear, that pain is what is keeping me from connecting to myself and really being like, oh, Marla, you're okay. You're actually safe. Like that space. And
Mhm.
I mean, that is just such a more loving place to be in. It takes courage, though, to be willing to feel and to not be, it's easier just to lament and worry about what you look like rather than to be able to slow down and connect with yourself.
Right. And just because, like you said, it's just a body, right? I mean, we're just talking about molecules. It's just a butt, like why do we attach so much stuff to it? You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to look this way or that way. And we get ourselves all wrapped up about it. But it's just a part of us. And if we were just regular beings walking around without all of this conditioning, right?
Mhm.
There wouldn't be any of these negative tags that we put on these things. So it really is our conditioning, right? So I mean, apart from the health side, like we always want to be healthy, but like the in terms of how we look, so much of it is pushing away those outside voices and aligning, like you were saying, to that safe place inside you where you're just at peace with who you are.
Right. And a lot of times, what I'm hearing you say within that too is like you said about it's always good to be healthy, but we often take health as just our bodies healthy. But like we have to take into consideration our mental health and our spiritual health. So if we're making choices around how we move our body or how we feed our body that is tapping into some sort of obsession, then we're not taking in our full health, right? We're just taking into, oh, I have to be healthy. I'm supposed to look like this, right? It's like, no, our mental health is just as important.
Absolutely. It's all connected. Right. And I think that's what's so interesting. And, we start working with our energy bodies, and then, all of that energy manifests in our physical body. So, it's just really like a densification of all this stuff that's going on energetically. And when we don't listen to ourselves, right? I mean, this is like one of the outcomes is like we don't listen to ourselves and we don't honor ourselves. We end up creating these blocks.
Yes.
Right. And these blocks lead to our suffering, and they lead to our fears. They lead to all like physical illness and all this ickiness.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Yeah.
So we don't want to be blocked. We just gotta like stay in the flow, right? Stay clean energy, clean eating. And it really does work both ways. I mean, our body, when our bodies feel good, our souls feel better. When our souls feel good, our bodies feel better. So it's like goes both ways.
Yeah. I mean, we are human beings. We're in these bodies. So we want to treat them like a temple. And sometimes it takes time to figure out how to do that with our intuition.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I have found to connect myself to my intuition is using pleasure as the guide. And so, because oftentimes we're looking for the pain point. It's like, oh, that's
Oh.
painful. That means no. Oh,
Mhm.
that's painful. That means no. And when we feel into, and with pleasure, I don't mean like that, like instant gratification pleasure. I'm talking about the pleasure that happens when our body goes, oh, thank you.
Mhm.
It's like that. It's the deep knowing of pleasure, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
oh, yeah.
Yep.
Alignment with ourselves.
And I refer to that a lot when I teach intuition is resonance, right? So you get this part of this choice that just resonates, right? You just feel that comfort. You feel it is a kind of pleasure. It's a kind of flow. That's the resonance, right? As opposed to the no, which is like the not resonance, the discord, the discomfort, right? So intuition will always resonate because it always wants your best.
It will resonate, and lots of times the choice will resonate, and it will feel pleasurable, but maybe the thing you have to do may
Oh,
not.
that's very important.
Right? So it may be like, okay, I really resonate with the fact that I'm not supposed to go for thirds on ice cream, but oh my gosh, this is so painful in this moment. Or I really, really feel like I want to stay in bed right now, but when I feel into it, I really like, I'm resonating, and the pleasure gets ignited when I think about how I will feel after I go for a walk.
Absolutely. That, I mean, and that's the part people like want to skip, that's like, we can be all like, fluffy rainbows and unicorns about, doing all what we love. But the reality, these are hard choices a lot of times.
Yeah.
Intuition, it will resonate, but it doesn't always tell. I mean, a lot of times doesn't tell us what we want to hear. I mean, it's not about that. Right. So yeah, so it's going to tell us the hard lines like, no, you can't do this. And no, you're going to have to give this up, or you're going to have to sacrifice this. And it's what you need to do, even if you may not want to do it, but it'll be the best for you if you do it.
Yes. And that's why often people don't want to listen.
I know, it's easier not to.
But it's easier in the moment.
Yes.
Usually the repercussions of it are like, oh shit.
Should have listened to my intuition.
Yeah. Oh, and when we get that enough, and we keep getting that enough, and if you're listening to this right now, you're on the right track, right? Of like, okay, we get the tap, and then we get the
yep. Whisper, shout, like roar kind of thing.
Yeah. And so when we play that game enough, and we're also really realizing it's like, no, my intuition is really for me, not against me. My body is actually for me, not against me.
We got to trust our bodies, and we got to trust our intuition.
Yeah.
It gets back to that trust. Yes. So how do we do that? How do we start doing that now?
Well, I think just starting the conversation we mentioned earlier is really just starting to have a dialogue. Instead of telling our bodies, we actually can ask and pause. I feel like there's so much information in the pause. The pause can give us that information, and then we have to continue just to learn and really pull ourselves away from any sort of negative self-talk around it. Right? It's like, oh, I thought I was listening to my intuition, but it really was my ego. It's like, you know what? I'm just learning. I'm just figuring this life thing out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to be perfect in it. Mm-hmm. So it's just building this muscle and knowing that sometimes it's just going to be okay that you went back for thirds for ice cream. That's the thing. It's like when we release the shame, our bodies can talk louder. The shame is on top of that. So when we start having this conversation and we start friending ourselves, we can start aligning to ourselves on all these different levels.
And that's really, I think right there, you said it, is friending ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that term really applies on all levels to what we're talking about, right? Because we need to make friends with our bodies, right? That's like so important. But we also, with our intuition, when we make friends with our intuition, we have to start developing that trust of a friendship, right? Yeah. Right? So to know that our intuition is our friend, and to trust that friend, and to not listen to all these other friends out here that aren't as good of friends. I mean, these are good friends, but our intuition's our best friend, and our body's our best friend. This whole situation, this is what we got going on. So we got to learn to have this friendship scenario as our top priority and our top source of trust and honor. And then all this other stuff falls into place because we got this right. So I love that.
And I feel like what we're sharing right now is the information on how to, and it's not easy. So I just want to say to everyone that's listening to this, Kim and I are not here like, okay, go figure it out. You got to be best friends with yourself. And, we know that this is a journey. Yep. And that's why we are sharing this with you, is because we want to share with you how you can actually do that. And that's what Kim does, is connects very deeply into teaching this step by step. And then for me, this is what I do on a body in having a relationship with your body and with food. So I would love to hear a little bit more about, Kim, your program that you have coming up that's all
Yeah.
this juicy stuff.
Yeah, it's exciting. We both have these really cool programs coming up that are really immersive and talking about these subjects and really getting tactical on how to tackle them and integrate them and own them in our lives. So yeah, I'm launching my intuition masterclass this fall in September. So we have a nice cohort of women shaping up right now where we're really going to spend 6 weeks really deep diving into intuition and learning what intuition actually is. Like, I think a lot of people don't even get that, right? There's just so many different conceptions about what intuition is, but you know, we break it down into something called holistic intuition for body, mind, heart, and spirit. So there's different elements of your intuition that we relate to and our complete experience of life through our intuition. And it's a very, on one hand, very spiritual, but also very practical, because you know we learn tons and tons of techniques to recognize our intuition, so that we really know we're following intuition. Because like that's the big thing that people always ask me is like, how do I know it's really my intuition? Because we don't want to be following the wrong thing, you know. We want to be following our intuition. So we do a lot of work with recognizing intuition, and then once we've got a pretty good idea of what our intuition is, we start to do some developmental exercises to help interpret it and to help us to have the courage to own it and to carry it through into our daily life, right? And making those choices and creating a group of women who work together and support each other through this journey. It's just such a rewarding experience. So, you know, I'm really glad that we got the chance to connect with you, and all of the work that you're doing just really flows so nicely into this intuition work, because it's a real complement in terms of the physical intuition and all of the stuff that we have to deal with our bodies.
Yay, lucky women who join your program.
So, well, yeah. So, what, I mean, tell us about yours too, because this is, when's yours starting?
Mine's starting in October.
Oh, right. So we're about the same time. That's right. So this is going to be cool. How long is yours?
Mine is an 8-week course, and it's called the Pleasure Plan. So it's teaching how to use pleasure in relationship to body, food, self-talk, self-care, our sensuality, our relationship to how we eat our food, how we move our bodies. So it's really tapping into that pleasure, to that resonance that we're talking about, right? To that place where we're not fighting ourselves anymore, where we're not beating ourselves up, and we're really aligning with the choices that really are going to make us feel good, and so that we can move on with our lives and actually have a thriving life and not be stuck in some of these patterns that are not serving us. So it's an 8-week program. It's online. We're going to have great guest speakers like Kim. And yeah, there's a whole video, whole website full of video modules and workbooks, and yeah, it's fully loaded with a lot of connection with me. And I just ran it in March, and it was fantastic. It was just what these women and how they supported each other was really beautiful for me to witness that as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that cohort, the format of the cohort is so important to classes like these, because there's this solidarity that forms with the group, you know, and the thing that's nice about the programs that we do is they're online, so anyone anywhere can do it, right? And you make friends with people all over the world, and you develop these whole new relationships. Like us, you know, we're on opposite sides of the country right now, you know, but we've realized we have all these things in common, and we're sharing all these new things together. So it's such an opportunity for growth and new friendship as we learn all these things and grow with our friendships with ourselves, you know.
Absolutely. So we're both very excited to share that, and I'm sure we'll have some links below to Kim's work and to mine.
Yes. Yeah. We'll make sure we've got, if you look after the video or before the video, we'll have links to both of our programs. So you can, I think you have a wait list up now.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can, if you just sign up, we'll send you information about what's coming. Probably Roman will start in September. So yeah. Well, awesome. This has been such a great conversation. I thanks for sharing all your ideas with us.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah. Thanks for making this connection.
two Pittsburgh girls.
That's right. You gotta love it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.